Don't go anywhere yet. It might ask you for like a
Okay.
code to confirm.
Okay.
Jimmy, will you pull up your participants to make sure that's good?
Pull up my permissions. Is that what you said?
No. Don't go anywhere yet. It might ask you for
Hi everybody, welcome to Prose Finals. We're still waiting on Judge to join us, and then go ahead and take over whoever you want to run final. Just heads up, this will be live streamed. I don't know how best what can pass. I can use the speaker between one of them, the large screen, or I think probably that's best bet, but let's see if it works. Let me actually try and pin something out now. Jill, since you also have your run now.
Oh no, it's doing nothing. So I'm just gonna.
Hi, lovely Cade. Can you hear me?
His mic was kind of doing some crazy stuff a second ago. So
Hi, Jill.
Hi, recognize you from last weekend. You were running the judges round with Jalen, right?
Yes.
Yes. Cool. It's good to see you.
Yeah, you too. Okay. Okay. Jill and Bryson, you two are judging? You two are the other judges? Okay, cool. I don't think there's a way, Cade just texted me. I don't think there's a way that he can make the Zoom itself, like the speaker, big. I think if you like see view on your screen and do speaker view, I think that's the only way to make it so like the person speaking takes up the whole screen. Otherwise, I think it's this grid layout. I think. I don't know. I also cannot see anybody else. Can you guys? Oh, okay. Now I can see Maria.
they
Cool.
just
And-
didn't have their cameras on.
Okay, cool. I was like
They're
looking
being
for like a little
shy.
camera icon. Cool. All right. We'll give it just a couple more minutes.
And also, if you click on your Zoom on each competitor's video, it gives you the option to pin video.
No.
Yeah.
We've been doing this for a year now. You'd think I would know.
Yeah.
But
There's been a lot of Zoom troubleshooting as a coach this year. So.
a lot of Zoom nightmares.
Definitely that too.
My first round yesterday was chaotic. I felt so horrible. Like this one girl in the middle of her speech, like my connection just like went dead. And by the time I got it back working, 10 minutes later, she was just finishing her piece. And I got it and I was like, I am so sorry. I'm like, I missed all of that. Like, you have to do it again.
I had problems in my first round hearing anybody. Like, everybody's mics were so quiet. And then it was just a matter of I had to just log out and log back in and it was fine. Hopefully Zoom functions a little easier.
Yeah. Okay. You guys just want to start?
I mean, yeah, sure.
I don't.
Do we have any double entries? Anyone who needs to go earlier or later?
Okay. Maria, you're first anyway on the docket.
Yeah.
Okay. Jill, Bryson, are you guys good with starting? Okay. Let's start with you then, Maria.
And can everyone hear me all right? And if I may have a 1 at 9 and a fist at 10, that would be wonderful.
Who's timing this? Probably good.
I can time.
Okay, thanks. When you're
So
ready.
wait, a 1 at 9 and a fist at 10?
Yes.
Okay, sounds good.
The same question keeps going through my head. How did I get here? In this empty house? The career I scrambled to create since I moved out when I was 16 years old was stalled. Or maybe it was over for good. I was now completely alone. Recently, I happened to see a clip of myself on The Late Show with David Letterman from 1994. Letterman said, "You have a storybook life." So how did I get here? I decided to sit still after a life of running and face myself. It gave me the chance to learn what life was like as just me. Not as a sex symbol or an actress, a mother or a daughter. It seems like it should be automatic, living as yourself. But coming where I came from, being me, wasn't even okay the day I was born. For decades, the name Demi Moore has been synonymous with celebrity. From iconic film roles to high-profile relationships, Moore has never been far from the spotlight or the headlines. Even as Demi was becoming the highest-paid actress in Hollywood, she was always outrunning her past, just one step ahead of the doubts and insecurities that defined her childhood. Throughout her rise to fame, and during some of the most pivotal moments of her life, Demi found herself questioning if she belonged in Hollywood, if she was a good actress, and if she was simply good enough. Inside Out by Demi Moore. Growing up in Southern California in the mid-70s was different. My mother was a teenager when she got pregnant with me. I was aware that my mother was different. She didn't seem like other moms. She wasn't really interested in how I was doing at school. I can picture her driving us to school in the car, smoking a cigarette in one hand and putting her makeup on perfectly with the other, without even looking in the mirror. It was more like we were sisters, than mother and daughter. At 15, I remember one night sitting at the bar with her when a man who looked to be in his late 40s came over and introduced himself as Val Dumas. He chatted with us for a while and offered us a ride home. And then another day, when I got home, he was there, waiting for me. Val turned to me and said, "How does it feel to be whored out by your mother for $500? How does it feel to be whored out by your mother for $500? Something very deep inside me shifted then, and it never shifted back. My childhood was over. So I got out of that hellhole and moved to New York City. The city was overwhelming and intimidating, and it smelled. It smelled. But after a few months, I got my first big break, an audition for General Hospital. My career was gaining momentum, and I had never felt so free. A bunch of breaks came my way in rapid succession. St. Elmo's Fire, Striptease, G.I. Jane, Ghost, and Charlie's Angels. I had learned to crave extremes. It was like I needed the juice of it. After all the running I had to do to survive my childhood, I started drinking, and my appetite for cocaine escalated into a dependency. I couldn't stop. There was no little voice in my head saying, "That's enough to me." There were no breaks. I still couldn't answer the question. How does it feel to be whored out by your mother for $500? I was amused recently when a young journalist told me his favorite moment from any movie was the single tear roll down my cheek and Charlie's Angels full throttle as I said, "I was never good. I was great." And then he asked, "How does it feel to be the most iconic crier in history?" Suddenly, I was the highest paid actress in Hollywood. They offered me a lot of money for G.I. Jane, $12 million, huh? No other woman in Hollywood had ever made that much money for a movie. But instead of people seeing my big payday as, I don't know, a step in the right direction for women, they came up with something else to call me. Gimme more. Clever. My professional life was soaring. But my personal life was painful. I realized that if you carry unresolved trauma inside of you, no amount of money, no matter of success or celebrity can fill it. I had just returned from the press tour for G.I. Jane when I got a call that my mother had died. I stood absolutely still and had a rush of clarity. All the emotions I felt toward her, my anger, pain, hurt, were mine. I could really ask, how did I get here in this empty house? How did I get here? I got here because I responded to the dizzying lack of safety in my childhood by becoming tough and adaptable. I got here because I never dealt with the rejection and scorn that came throughout my career. I got here because I couldn't bear to face that question. How does it feel to be whored out by your mother for $500? I got here because I details, opening the door, wondering if my mother gave him a key, to feeling trapped inside my own home with a man 3 times my age and twice my size. How did I get here? I got here because I've been wondering from day one, is it even okay that I'm here? And it is finally time for me to tell myself, yes, I belong here in myself, in this house, on this planet. I wanted to tell this story. The story of how I learned to surrender. Because it's mine. It doesn't belong to the tabloids, my mom, or the men I've married. And even though it's mine, maybe some part of this story is yours too. We all suffer. We all triumph. And we all get to choose how we hold both. May I be excused to my next round?
Yeah, very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep. To the other judges, the time was 10:03.
Thank you. Okay. Let's see. I have Olivia next, who is not here, and then Lily. Jill, Bryson, are you guys good? Or do you want another second? You're good? Okay. Lily, when you are ready.
Can you hear me and see me okay?
I can.
The food ain't all bad. We're served 3 meals a day. We have to wear cuffs everywhere we go, except for in the showers and, well, here. Besides that, I am always locked up in my room. But lately, I like to be by myself. I like to think about Ty. And I know I'm probably looking at death, but I just want to get it off my chest, get things right with God. I am going to confess. As many as 90% of the women in prison for killing men were also battered by those men, according to the Boston Globe. Eileen Wuornos was one of these women. As she's questioned, she recalls the stories of these murders and her corruption into becoming one of the world's most famous female serial killers. And although her sanity was questioned, she was executed in 2002. Many women share similar stories of abuse and mental illnesses, but are dealt with similar fates and labeled as a monster. My True Story by Eileen Wuornos. My mother, who can go to hell, plucked me out of her belly and left me with my grandparents. The bitch sent me in a handbasket to hell. And my grandfather used to beat me after school, or if I came home late, he'd make me pick a branch and he'd use that. I soon learned the thicker the branch, the lesson hurt. And after school, kids used to buy favors from me in exchange for cigarettes. And so did my own brother. So I dropped out of school and I left home. When I was really little, I wanted to be a nun. But I embarked to Florida and took up a life of prostitution. I know what men wanted from me, and I had all the necessary skills for the profession beckoning me. The only reason I hustled so hard all those years was for Ty. I did what I had to do to pay the bills because I didn't have another choice. We met at the Zodiac Bar in South Daytona. Tyria Moore. We were lesbians, and I told her I had a steam cleaning business. I would leave off to work with a briefcase. Tyria later opened it and found it was full of condoms and men's business cards. And she found it exciting. Tyria was all sweet and smiles. And these guys, they started giving me a problem. So I was staying with some friends and I noticed they had some guns and I ripped off their 22. If the person would give me my money, I wouldn't do nothing to them. But if the person started getting violent with me, that's when I took retaliation. There was this one guy, and we drove into the woods and was sitting in the front seat. And he's hugging and kissing on me, and he starts, and I said, no, I always take my money first. And he said he wanted to see how the merchandise fit. And that he was gonna screw me right here, right now. And I said, no, I always take my money first. And that's when we started fighting. And I noticed I had my bag on the passenger floor. So I grabbed it, jumped out of the car, grabbed my gun, and just shot him in the front seat. And I thought, well, hell, do I help this guy or do I just kill him? If I let him live, he's gonna tell on me. Then I thought the stupid bastard would have killed me, so I kept shooting. And he was the first. And I do have to say one thing. No matter how much their families loved the people that died, they were bad people. Because they were gonna hurt me. They were either gonna physically beat me up, rape me, or kill me, and I just turned around and did my fair play before I got hurt, you see? There were 6 times I almost got killed, and I killed the person. And a lot of times I was drunk, so wow, to remember everything is gonna be a little bit difficult. I know there are 6, but there's a 7th. If you gave me the pictures, I could tell you. Yeah, I don't even remember their names. Their names. You stupid bitch! Yeah, go ahead, put me in the electric chair. It was my fault. It was pure hatred. You stupid bastard. You were gonna hurt me. You were gonna beat me up, rape me, kill me, kill if I didn't kill them. No, I had to kill them. That's why I am the way I am. Because of men. Yeah, I shot them. I watched them die. I really suck. I killed people. I deserve to die. But right inside here, I'm a good person. I want to go to heaven. And I don't want my girlfriend in any trouble. You see, she is so innocent. I am the only one involved in this stuff. I wish I never would have gotten that gun. I wish to God I was never a hooker. I wanted to be a nun. Thank you.
Thank you.
Time on that one was 9:37.
Very good. Thanks. Hi, Olivia. You were second. Do you want to go now? Before we
Sure.
move on? Okay, cool. Jill, Bryson, are you ready? Okay, sweet. When you are ready, Olivia.
Great, thank you. When I was pregnant, I tried to make a super baby. I didn't realize I was doing this. I thought I'd long ago shed the idea that a body could be made perfect. But looking back, my goal was clear. I swallowed mercury-free DHA pills to help grow my super baby's brain. I filled my grocery cart with organic fruits and veggies, letting our monthly food bill consume a quarter of our income. Of course, I followed the medical advice standard for women of my generation, but I went above and beyond. I gave up wheat for reasons I forget. I spoke to my super baby, welcoming it into my body so it would feel loved and supported. I slept on my left side. After 36 hours of labor, "Oh, peanut," said the midwife. "Just a widow peanut." That was about the kindest thing a medical professional would say about my newborn's body. Good or bad? Hard to say. These 6 simple words were the central premise of a TED Talk delivered by author Heather Lanier in 2017. This concept, that reality is dependent on our perspectives, is one that played a vital role in Heather's journey as a mother. When her daughter was born with a rare chromosomal condition called Wolff-Hirschhorn syndrome, Heather was repeatedly told that her daughter was less than. And yet, through challenges and breakthroughs, Heather learns that good and bad are just incomplete stories we tell ourselves, and that her daughter's life is only as remarkable as she makes it. Raising a Rare Girl, a memoir by Heather Lanier. Love is a verb, as Bell Hooks points out. It's not static, not a concrete object to dust on a mantle. It's a flowing between, an unpinnable exchange between a blessed someone. Oh, sorry. Oh, and their beloved. We named her Fiona Sowen Ray. Fiona because I liked it. Ray after Justin's father, and Sowen after Sowen Nakagawa Roshi, an eccentric Zen master who liked to play jokes on his students. We weren't trying in the least to be prophetic. Fiona was 4 pounds, 12 ounces. Giving the nurses and doctors shock when they relayed this weight to one another, I learned that 4 pounds, 12 ounces is an alarming size for an infant born full term. Someone showed me a chart on which 7 half rainbows shot across graph paper. The half rainbows began close together at the word birth, each somewhere between 5 and 9 pounds. The chart illustrated the weight range of normal babies at birth and beyond. There was a handwritten X below all of them, scratched in ballpoint pen. This was Fiona, someone told me. She was in the bowels of the chart. Weight, 7 pounds. Age, 3 months. The doctor entered with a look of concern. Did you take any drugs while pregnant? No. I wanted to say I took superfoods to create my super baby. Well, she's 3 months old and the size of a newborn. Her eyes are wide set. And she has a heart murmur. I suspect she has a syndrome of some kind. In that second, something happened. Something frightening and fast. My heart went ever so briefly in the opposite direction. It had been moving in the direction of ragged love, drawn up from sleep to endure every cry, drawn away from my own needs so I could fulfill the hunger pangs of another. For the past few months, our lives had revolved around the tiny mystery of our girl. Our hearts beat every second for her and her and her. But when the doctor said syndrome of some kind and placed my daughter 7 pounds back in my arms, I had the brief, basal urge to extend my arms back to the doc and say, no, here. For a painful nanosecond that felt like free falling, I wanted to hand my child to someone else. A mother is not supposed to have this thought. A lizard, maybe, but not a mom. The urge to hand my baby back was primal and brief. When Fiona was returned to me, she was nearly weightless. And yet I now held the weight of the world. Our daughter was missing some genetic material on the short arm of the 4th chromosome. This chromosomal thing was called Wolff-Hirschhorn syndrome, a rare disease that affects fewer than 1 out of 50,000. I Googled. Wolff-Hirschhorn. Mental retardation ranges from mild to severe. Most patients do not develop active speech. Seizures occur. Mortality rate is estimated at 34% in the first 2 years. There is no specific treatment. The resident at the Cincinnati Children's Hospital Genetics Department smiled kindly when he entered the room. She'll probably always be small, no matter how many calories you give her. And she probably won't learn to walk or crawl when other kids do. But we won't put limits on her. We'll help her be all she can be. The president did a powerful thing that day. Through language and framing, he took my daughter's life back from a culture that might label her as less than, and he returned that life to us. At 22 months old, Fiona had found it. Her yes. It was adamant and clear and universal. A nod. She didn't hinge at the neck with a subtle gesture. The root of her nod was her waist. She bowed her 16 pounds back and forth in her high chair, knocking against the plastic. It was a full-bodied yes, involving what seemed like half of her muscular system. It was definitive and deliberative and adorable. I cut our meal times by a third. A typical lunch went something like this. Do you want water? Full-bodied nod. I give her water. This sounds so simple. I give her water, but she can't yet close her lips around the mouth of a sippy cup, let alone suck from it. So to give her water, I take a straw, put it in a glass and close the top hole with my index finger and then stick it in her mouth. Then I lift my finger so the water pools into her mouth. All done? She says. It's half command, half request. She wants something. Do you want eggs? No response. Thanks to the power of yes, no response is now its own response. Do you want yogurt? Instant full-body nod, like she'd been waiting for this offer. I feed her spoonful and spoonful of her preferred flavor. Plain, whole fat. Lunch is done. What once took 60 minutes now takes 20. There was no single moment in which my thinking about Fiona turned away from grief, from the sense of disability as deficit. This happened gradually. There was no single moment when I stopped envying the mothers of able-bodied babies, super babies, or when I fully accepted my kid as she was. Her bright blue eyes, her helicopter arms banging the shit out of dangling farm animals, her hyperventilating excitement at said farm animals. Oh my gosh, she's remarkable. She's the most remarkable thing in the house, on the planet. Oh, my super baby. In times like these, I heard a sentence as clear as a bell. This doesn't have to be tragic. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, time on that was 10:12.
Very good. Okay, and Evelyn, we will move down to you because I don't think anybody else is here. Jill, Bryson, are you ready? Okay, when you are ready, Evelyn.
Perfect. And could I get some time signals? Just a 1 at 9 and a fist at 10 if I get there.
Yep, sounds good.
Awesome. Thank you. Can everyone see me and hear me okay? Awesome. It was the summer of 1996. The Olympics were in Atlanta, and it was the biggest event in gymnastics history. Our team was set to become the first ever women's team to bring home the gold medal. Okay, I had been obsessively following the sport for a while now. There was only one vault left, and like the rest of the world, I screamed with excitement when Carrie finally stuck that last vault, only to pause when she dropped to the mat, clearly in overwhelming pain. I watched as coaches and a doctor rushed to her side. I got her, I heard a male voice say. That was Larry Nasser, the Olympic team doctor. God, the emotion in that moment was palpable. It was incredible. It reminded me of how much I love this sport. You know, I had taken a lesson once when I was younger, and I have just been in awe of it ever since. I wanted back in the gym. Everything about it amazes me. On December 7th, 2018, over 150 women stood in front of their perpetrator and testified against a man who they once believed to be a trusted doctor. Larry Nassar was found guilty on multiple accounts of sex abuse against minors all under the age of 16. Rachel Den Hollander, a mother and lawyer at the time, knew it was finally her time to share her story. After she testified, she slid a note to the judge, asking for maximum sentencing for Nassar, essentially asking the question, "What is a girl worth?" by Rachel Den Hollander. I remember after I watched our team bring home the gold medal, I began asking to enroll in classes. My long torso, inflexible shoulders, and late start to the sport all worked against me. Simply put, I wasn't made for gymnastics. I remember on my first day in, I rushed into the locker room, set my bag down in the cubby, and I took a deep breath. This was right. This was where I was supposed to be. I replayed that mantra in my head over and over again, trying to ignore that sinking feeling in the pit of my stomach. Thanks to our coach's intense training, our gym had a very low injury rate. But even that wasn't enough to save me. The pain in my wrists and back got really bad. It ended up getting to the point where I'd start to wake up in the morning with one leg numb and pain radiating from my sciatic nerve. The constant pounding that this sport required was wearing my body out. For the last few minutes of practice, my mom started talking to the receptionist. "Oh, have you ever thought about taking her to see Larry? Oh, he is the best of the best. He finds things no one else does and can treat them in ways, gosh, no one else is able to treat them." That was Larry Nassar, the Olympic team doctor. In the gymnastics world, he was the best of the best. I found it hard to believe that a physician of Dr. Nassar's caliber would really find time to treat, well, a gymnast in my situation, but my mom wasted no time in getting me to Nassar. Later that week, my mom and I started discussing my injuries and what to keep in mind as we moved forward. I think seeing Nassar is the best shot we have at it. Mom said that there's another option we could go to if we really needed it. It was a new type of treatment where the therapist treats all of the bones and muscles in the pelvic area and does so by accessing everything internally. Nassar's clinic had also told us to bring a pair of loose shorts to the appointment. I guess the exams were pretty thorough and you needed to be able to move pretty easily. Sometimes there are things they have to do medically that maybe aren't the most comfortable of things, but are necessary for your health. But for a chance to see the doctor who takes care of Olympians, it was worth it. After all, who else got an opportunity like this one? Not long after, I found myself sitting on the crinkly white paper in the office of the elite medical coordinator for USAG. In walked Larry. He moved quickly and the evaluation began. He put me through a battery of movements, testing my core strength and flexibility, positioning me however he needed me to be for each test. As each test came and went, I got more comfortable with him. He clearly knew what he was doing. He really was the best of the best. And by the end of the evaluation, I had learned several key things. First, my shoulder flexibility was awful. Second, the muscles in my lower back were firing in the wrong order, causing me to put more weight on them than I actually should be. And third, my hips were improperly rotated. As for the improper hip rotation, he said he could fix that. Now, he brought me to the middle of the room, just a few feet away from my mom, facing away from her, of course, and slid my feet about 12 inches apart. He said he needed to grab the pelvic bone and pull it back into place. Easy enough, right? He knelt down and placed one hand firmly on my lower back, and the other hand around the inside of my leg, underneath my shorts. He kept working, and his hands started to go up inside of my underwear, inside of me, and I started to feel a little bit dizzy, and I looked down at him, and he was panting, and there was a visible felt him turn me over at some point and start to rehook my bra. What just happened? I looked over at my mom and she smiled reassuringly. You know what? This must be that treatment that my mom and I talked about. That internal type of therapy. This is clearly normal treatment for him. I'm not a test case or anything. If there was something wrong with what he was doing, someone would have checked into it. Someone would have stopped him, wouldn't they? That was actually the last time I saw Larry. He never asked to schedule another appointment. My wrists weren't better. Maybe there was nothing that could have been done. Maybe he lost hope. Or maybe he got exactly what he wanted at that last appointment. In any case, it was over. You know, it took me years to understand that what had happened to me was wrong. That what he did to me was bad. It wasn't normal treatment. But putting words to it made it so much more real. I didn't expect to be writing an email that morning. When I opened my laptop, my Facebook tab was open and a trending article popped up. A blind eye to sex abuse. How US AG had been systemically burying reports of sexual misconduct. Reports of over 54 member coaches. God, I wanted to cry. I knew all too well what those children had gone through. At the bottom of the article, there was a notice. Indy Star will continue to investigate this topic. The reporters had left an email for readers to send in tips. You know, I had been waiting for this moment for nearly 16 years. Finally, someone spoke up. God, more importantly, someone had been believed. To whom it may concern, I'm emailing today to report an incident. I was molested by Dr. Larry Nasser, the Olympic team doctor. I was 16 years old. I decided against going to the police. It was my word against his, and I was confident I would not be believed. I have seen very little hope that any light would be shed by coming forward. So I stayed quiet. If there is a possibility that that is changing, I will come forward as publicly as necessary. Then I hit send. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, time on that one was 10:08.
Thank you. Okay. Jomi, you are up next. Did I pronounce your name correctly? Okay, cool. Bryson and Jill, are you good? Okay.
And then can I get a 1 at 9 and a fist at 10 if I get there?
Yes, you may.
Thank you.
I am Sadia, and I am the mother of Tulatu. I grew up in the village of Duhu, in the state of Adamawa. Every morning after seeing Tulatu off to school, I would bake bean cakes. Every afternoon, I would go to the bus station to sell bean cakes until 11 at night. We made a good living this way, even without a man in the family. Until the day they came. It was Friday. The military had just moved into our village across the street. On that Friday, I saw on the main street tanks racing down the street. Away from our village, they ran away. We must run. I took Tulatu's hand and ran from our neighborhood. Behind us, we heard cries. The fighters stormed the village, and out of every house, I saw people running. Everywhere, fleeing people, a great torment of people. And then they came to us. You do not need to be afraid. Glory to God. Some people say that we are a cancer. No, we are not a cancer. And we are not capricious people with evil intentions. They call us Boko Haram. The Islamic State of West Africa, better known as Boko Haram, is the most violent independent military group to ever attack Nigeria. Tens of thousands have died in their bloody conquest to spread their fundamentalist and extreme beliefs. Furthermore, the group has carried out mass abductions, including the kidnapping of 276 schoolgirls from Chibok. My parents' hometown has been taken over by Boko Haram. Had they never immigrated to the US, that could have been my reality. Sadia, and the following selection is just one of 2.3 million people who have been displaced and kidnapped by Boko Haram. She and her daughter survived to share this harrowing real-life journey, a journey showing that even in the midst of violence, fear, and uncertainty, it is love that helps them endure and no longer remain stolen girls by Wolfgang Bauer. They forced us back into our village and hoist their flag. So one flag read, "We have conquered the city of infidels. We must stop the spread of Western education." They forced us to convert to Islam. Your Islam is not our Islam. You are not praying correctly. No, pray. Glory to God. The men brought us mats to sleep on. Mats they had stolen. They were not enough for everyone. We had no blankets. A woman complained. She could not keep quiet. So a fighter shot her in the shin. The next morning, she was taken to a doctor. But I never saw her again. After 3 weeks, Mia declared, "Tomorrow, we will begin to marry you all to good Muslims." We had no choice. They divided the women into 3 categories: old, middle age, and young. Do you mean you also want to marry off girls my daughter's age? Mohammed took a 7-year-old as a wife. my little one. I was married to a fighter. One of the soldiers came to me with a stranger. He pointed to me and said, "That is your wife." Both men smiled and I was terribly afraid. I knew a woman who refused to have sex with the man she was forced to marry. She said she wanted a proper wedding. They took this woman to a hut, and then a little while later, they dragged away her corpse. Her name was Aisha. My new husband, moved to be with us under the tree. I did everything he wanted. In the first few weeks, I did not speak to him. I refused to smile at him. You don't know my madness, right? You will now understand. I swear by Allah's holy name, you will now understand. So he had his friends warn me, and I received strokes from the cable. Ah! 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 We must run. The mothers from the village decided to make an escape attempt. To protect our girls. I was afraid. But we must run. The day we escaped was during a military raid. It was almost worse than the day of our abduction. Fires in the trees, fires in front of us. It was as though the world was burning down. But we run. We run. All 100 women and children reached Duhu. No one can say that God does not love us. His hand protected us. Everyone now asks me what I'm going to do. They left me only my name. They took everything else. I am now someone else. Someone I do not know. But we run. We run. There are other women in the village like me. And now we have peace and quiet.
Thank you so much.
Time on that one was 9:56.
Okay. Bryson, Jill, you good? Cool. All right, Lydia, you are the last one.
Hi, can you all hear and see me okay? And could I possibly get time signals?
Yes, what would you like?
Could I get a 1 at 9 and fist at 10, please?
Yep.
All right, thank you. In our little house on the north side of Pittsburgh, we had one television. It was black and white. Very little house on the prairie. It was my mother, my father, and me. You know, I was obsessed with my parents. When our friends were getting pets, they'd get a guinea pig and name it Punky Brewster, or Chihuahua named Sting. Yeah, I got 2 goldfish, and I named them Paul and Lisa. After my parents, because they were my rock stars. One day, my mother and I were having lunch when she confessed to me that she'd seen a doctor. And she was sick. But it wasn't a big deal and she was gonna be fine. But I felt like suddenly I had to start considering a world with this big hole where my mother should be. We'd be spending time together, and it's like my brain would split. And part of me would be completely present, but this other part of me would be taking these notes of her in case I needed them when she wasn't there. In her article, Parenting a Parent Towards Life's End, Julie Hirsch examines the way that human beings navigate through the impending death of a parent. She notes that in these inevitable situations, there is a harsh reality of loss that we will never truly be able to prepare for. In her honest reflection on losing her mother, author Kate Teller shows us that death isn't just about the loss of a person, but instead, an opportunity to honor the impact they've had on our lives and celebrate memories we will carry forever. But also, Bring Cheese by Kate Tellers. Sometimes on Friday afternoons, I'd drive to her apartment and I'd get in really late. She'd open the door and would say, "Would you like a glass of wine?" I'd say yes. And we both knew it wasn't a glass of wine because it never was. We'd go into the kitchen and sit at the table and talk and drink a lot of wine. Yet miraculously, the glasses would never be empty. So we're laughing and she throws her head back and my brain splits. And I start to take notes. I note the way that she laughs so big, I can see the fillings in the back of her mouth split. And that her head is so small. She shops in the children's section of LensCrafters. I can tell because the light catches the arm of her glasses and they read Harry Potter. I take her in. My brain splits. And I think this is good. I can use this. 4 Januaries later, I'm back in Pittsburgh. The doctors have told us that it's time to come home. I'm in my mother's bedroom. And I can see a change has come over her face. Split. She shops in the children's section of LensCrafters. And I know that this is the day that I've been afraid of. My sister and I scheduled for my mother's family and friends to come visit her so that people could see her, but she wouldn't be overwhelmed by too many guests. And now I'm calling everyone, telling them, come over now for what will probably be one of the worst nights of your life. But because I'm my mother's daughter, I'm doing this as I'm pulling plates off of the shelves and saying, but also bring cheese. And they do. People start to come. They start to go in and visit my mother. And I can hear her saying to them as she's laid out in bed, can I get you anything? Can I get you a cup of tea? And I'm like, you are dying. I am going to do this right now. So I start handing people empty plates and cups, and I'm like, just bring this in there so she knows we're okay out here. And then finally, it's my turn. Split. She laughs so big, I can see the fillings in the back of her mouth. She's standing at her closet, reaching up for a sweater. I ask her what she's doing. And she says, I have to pack. And I don't know what to say to that. So finally I say, Mom, where you're going, you don't need a suitcase. She pauses and nods, and she lays back down and goes silent. I know that I should tell her that I love her and that I'll miss her. And in 28 years, I can throw her the best 85th birthday party. And that neither of us would have to live without the other. But she knows all of that already. So instead, I tell her that the following November, I'll be attending my friend from high school, Jess's wedding. That I'm really excited that the dresses are green because they'll bring out my eyes. And then that's it. And then I know that my mother is gone. The next morning, I go into the kitchen. I realize I still know how to make a pot of coffee. I go into the living room. And I sit in her big blue leather chair. and it's real. And you know, I just wait for that big gut punch to hit me, for that big hole to open up, the emptiness. But instead, I feel the strangest thing. I just feel sad. Split. She laughed so big, I could see the fillings in the back of her mouth.
Thank you.
Time for that one was 10 on the dot.
Okay. I think we're good then. You guys are all good to go. Good luck.
Thank you.
Good round, guys.
Thank you. Thanks, guys. Bye.